YouTube won't be sending out the notifications because I've already done one today, and then when I do my show later tonight, they won't send one out then either, so make sure to check. All right. So here's some updates to the blog that we were following on, I think it was it NBC5? Something like that? Hold on. Yeah, I think it's, yeah, on NBC5. We don't know what the sentencing is. On June 19th, Jared Patterson, Texas State Representative for District 106, issued a statement on the murder conviction of Karmelo Anthony. The murder of Austin Metcalf was a senseless and heartbreaking tragedy that forever changed the lives of... I hate the word tragedy in these kind of situations. Tragedy is when a house burns down. Heartbreaking tragedy that forever changed the lives of his family, friends, and community. The statement read, "Nothing can restore the life that was taken or ease the unimaginable pain of losing a child. Today's outcome of a murder conviction is justice served. I commend the prosecutors, witnesses, and jurors, each of whom participated in serving their community and rendering justice for Austin. While no outcome can erase this pain, it is our hope that this moment allows the Metcalf family and our community to begin the difficult process of healing and moving forward." I'm glad they didn't say closure. That's exactly how I word it right there. You know, you're just able to move forward, but there's no closure. Difficult process of healing and moving forward together. We continue to mourn Austin's loss and pray for healing for his family and all those affected by the tragedy. Okay, and then after that, we have another situation. So this here it's interesting, you know. It's almost like a leniency offer by the prosecution. Karmelo Anthony returns to the courtroom. State agrees to addition of sudden passion. And I guess, see, that's what I was talking about earlier. So they have murder, but then it's just sort of like what level. You have first degree, and then you have, like, second degree is exactly what this is right here. Sudden passion, right? That's how it's always defined out there, sudden passion. So that would be second degree in every other state. I just don't know if I don't think they call, not every other state, but they just don't call it that in Texas. Judge John Roach, so it says, shortly after 3:30, Karmelo Anthony returned to the courtroom, according to NBC5's Maria Guerrero, who was inside the Collin County Courthouse. Anthony was physically shaking and being held by a family defense attorney. Judge John Roach was informed that the state agreed to the addition of sudden passion. That's interesting, to do that after a guilty verdict. That means that they sort of are, you know, I mean, did the jury ask for that? You know, because it wasn't added. It wasn't part of it. So it's sort of strange. So it's almost as if the prosecution is giving him a chance somehow. You know what I mean? By putting that in there. Judge John Roach was informed that the state agreed to the addition of sudden passion as the jury continues with the sentencing phase, meaning that the defense can argue that, well, what do you mean can argue? It's already been argued. Can argue that the murder was committed when the defendant was in an intense emotional state triggered by immediate provocation from the victim. I guess they do argue here. Let's just see. During voir dire, Prosecutor Dewey Mitchell explained that sudden passion is a situation when someone is in such a state of emotion based on something that just happened that they don't have time to cool off. Well, see, but yeah, see, that doesn't work for Karmelo Anthony. There was nothing like that at all. There was nothing sudden. He had his hand on the knife even before. If the jury agrees with the sudden, but I could see some of the jurors wanting to go that direction. If they agree with a sudden passion argument, the charge is reduced. Wow, that would be dramatic. To a second degree felony. So they don't call it second degree murder, I guess. Which lowers the punishment range to 2 to 20 years. I mean, that's a massive leniency offered there. I wonder why the state allowed that. I wonder if they were trying to avoid any sort of appeals option, situation. I don't know. Sudden passion doesn't work here, though. But maybe the prosecution is saying, look, we gave the jury an opportunity to give them something lesser, but the information was so overwhelming that it still indicated that it was first-degree murder. So maybe that's what they're doing here. I don't know. If I was the family, though, I'd be sort of nervous. Like, wow, you're sort of giving the jury an opportunity, and by putting it on there, it's almost as if you're sanctioning it. So, for example, the jury is sitting back there, and they're thinking about it, and then all of a sudden, the prosecutor says, yeah, we're going to add second degree on there. And they're like, I wonder why they're doing that. Maybe they feel like, maybe we should consider that. Because, why is the prosecution adding that on there? I'm just trying to picture how the jury sitting back there might think that that was added in their last minute. Thanks, Alley Cake. All right, you ensured that we don't get 0 on this stream. If the jury agrees with the sudden passion argument, the charge is reduced to second-degree felony, which lowers the punishment range to 2 to 20 years in prison. The jury will be brought back in for what amounts to a mini trial. Wow. Jesus. With opening statements from the prosecution and the defense. This is going to get way longer. A video will be played for the jury about sudden passion, after which they will deliberate and decide on punishment. Wow. Why did they do that? I wonder why the prosecution added that in there. Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Karmelo Anthony has chosen not to testify in this section of the trial as well. Jeez. This is nuts. Thank you, Paul Ayers. Was that this one? No, I guess so. That was 7 and 8. All right. Jury must decide if murder was committed under sudden passion. After the jury returned to the courtroom, Judge Roach explained that the issue of sudden passion had been raised. He said that if jurors believe he committed the murder under sudden passion, they will decide between a sentencing range of 2 to 20 years. If the jurors do not reach a unanimous verdict, that's going to be tough. Judge Roach said they will decide between 5 and 99. Wow, okay. So it's like, if you don't reach a unanimous verdict, you guys decide. If you don't reach a unanimous verdict, then boom, we're going to go 5 to 99. And then they're going to pull the jury probably at the end, and let's say it's 6 to 6 on the second degree, or if it's 1 to 11, then they're going to try to raise hey, well, how come, that one person, There was only one person. I don't think so, though. I think most of these people, the fact that they came back in 3 hours means that they know it's I think they're first-degree murder situation. The defense attorney previously stated that sudden passion is when you commit an act because you didn't take the time to cool off. All right, and then we got this one right here. Assistant District Attorney Dewey Mitchell addresses sudden passion argument. Assistant District Attorney Dewey Mitchell spoke to the jury regarding the prosecution's position on the sudden passion argument. Something unique happened when we were all in that big room, Mitchell said, referring to the courtroom. There was the sense of a bunch of people just wanting justice to be done. You all are the product of that. To me, it felt like a community. Mitchell spoke about how during the trial on Thursday, witnesses described Karmelo as a son, a student, etc. He reminded that the jury that the Austin Metcalf was also a son, a brother, and the type of man who believed in people. He mentioned that Austin was full of testosterone, a big guy, and that didn't apply to Carmelo Anthony. Not sure what that means. He mentioned that Austin was full of testosterone, a big guy, and that didn't apply to Carmelo Anthony. I don't even know what the hell that means. Mitchell told the jury that the defense will talk about Carmelo's age in their argument, and he urged the jury to consider Austin's age as well. Nothing you do with your verdict, no matter what it is, nothing will take more from Carmelo and his family than he took from Metcalf's, Mitchell said. He explained that Austin will never get to meet the love of his life, hold his graduation plaque, or have children. The jury was shown photos from the track meet showing coaches performing CPR on Austin on the day of the stabbing. According to NBC5, Maria Guerrero, Austin Metcalf's mother, was seen weeping in the courtroom. Other members of the public on the Metcalf side of the courtroom were also seen crying. This is not about vengeance, Mitchell said. It's not about leniency either. In Collin County, it's the price of taking a life. In Collin County, what's the price of taking a life? Mitchell asked. There are going to be bleachers and stadiums in Collin County where parents are going to watch their kids play. One of the reasons we're in the community we live in is because we feel safe, Mitchell said. By giving a fair and justice verdict, my prayer is that's how we find healing, Mitchell said. And I think that was let me see. I'm sure they've added more since then. That's not it. Day 3, this one. Day 5. Anything just recently, 20 minutes ago? Yeah, because this is new, this one is. Okay, that's the defense attorney. Do I have that one? Carmelo Anthony, day 5. Okay, no, I don't. Hold on. I think that's right. Come on. I'll just have to read it. Following Mitchell's statement, Mike Howard spoke to the jury regarding sudden passion. This is the defense attorney. I will not stand here and say what the right verdict is, Howard said. I have stood here in front of many juries in my career, Howard said. Some big, some small, and I've had the conversation many times. It's never easy for me. I couldn't begin to tell you what the right thing to do is in this moment, Howard said. You will know that in your own hearts. It reminded the jury that the court respects their verdict and the role. Carmelo Anthony was seen crying in the courtroom as Howard spoke. Anyone who stands up here and tells you, puts a number clearly, doesn't understand how hard, it's hard to read it because it's so small. That's what I'm saying. Let me get this. I think Snagit just kind of quit working on me. All right. There we go. But hey, any chance you guys could help support the channel? We didn't come, did okay on the previous show, but we need to keep moving forward here. Seems like we just struggle every single day now. So we need people to get memberships for other people, etc. All right, now we can see it better. Okay, following Mitchell's statement, Mike Howard spoke to the jury regarding sudden passion. I will not stand here and say what the right verdict is, Howard said. I have stood here in front of many juries in my career, Howard said. Some big, some small, and I've had this conversation many times. It's never easy for me. I couldn't begin to tell you what the right thing to do is in this moment, Howard said. You will know it in your own hearts. He reminded the jury that the court respects their verdict and their rule. Karmelo Anthony was seen crying in the courtroom as Howard spoke. Anyone who stands up here and tells you to put a number clearly doesn't understand how hard your job is, Howard said, referring to the jury's role in determining how long Anthony will spend in prison. I can only ask you to consider both sides. Follow your heart and follow the law, Howard said. Howard then defined sudden passion. The 20 years, though, I don't think anybody in the jury is going to want him out of prison at 37 or less. I mean, that's ridiculous. Or 38, I guess. Howard then, well, he'll probably have time served for the year if he was in prison that whole time. I think he was. Or jail, anyways. Howard then defined sudden passion, explaining that it is an emotion, a feeling that is directly caused by provocation by the individual killed or others being killed at the time of the offense. Was it reasonable, the level of emotions he had based on being asked to leave the tent? I guess you might ask yourself. Oh, he's on house arrest? Okay. Decisions made in the... Okay, hold on. Sudden passion doesn't mean blaming Austin or Hunter or any of those memorial kids under that tent, Howard said. This is not about blaming a victim. Decisions made in the heat of the moment are different than decisions that come after reflection. That's first-degree murder. So when something happens, Austin, Hunter, the kids under the tent, when that happens, and you believe that Karmelo felt terror in that moment, such that it rendered his mind incapable, that he didn't have time for cool reflection, then sudden passion applies, Howard explained. I don't either. That's what I said. I don't know why the prosecution wanted to add that in there. They were already out there deciding on it, and it's like it was almost seemed like a moment of compassion on the side of... I mean, it's weird, too, because the facts of the case do not indicate this right here. Like, it doesn't indicate it. So I'm wondering if they're putting it out there as sort of a... I don't know, man. I think it actually will affect the jury's mind, too. Because they're being brought in to consider that. That means it's like they're almost... Wow, that's weird. They're almost telling us that's what they want us to give him. Because why would they be adding that later? So let's really think about that. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like they're doing. Unfortunately, I think if second degree went up at a higher range on it than just 20, then the jury might go that route. But man, when you have a maximum of 20, he's out at 38, gets to live life, or less than that. He's not going to serve the full 20, It's like, he might be out at 28 years old. What a joke. I think the video helps really show that because for all this talk about what happened at the end... Okay, hold on a second. So when something happens, Austin, Hunter, the kids under the tent, when that happens and you believe that Karmelo felt terror in that moment, such that it rendered his mind incapable, that he didn't have time for cool reflection, then sudden passion applies, Howard explained. You don't have to be sure of sudden passion. Okay, Howard said. You don't have to be sure of sudden... Well, if you're not sure, then it won't be... won't be unanimous. I think the video helps really show that because for all this talk about what happened, at the end of the day, that video was mere seconds, Howard said, referring to the video of the altercation at the track meet. There was a build-up, sure, but then a moment where everything happened in mere seconds. I asked you to consider both sides. Yes, the Metcalfs have been irrevocably changed by this, and all of our hearts go out to them. The Anthonys, too. There are innocent people on both sides who have lost significantly. Thank you for doing your duty, Howard said. I'm going to agree with Mr. Mitchell in that healing is needed, and you guys are going to decide what that is. I don't know, man. And then there's another one that came out after that. The jury left the courtroom at 4:40 p.m. to begin deliberations in the sentencing phase of the Karmelo Anthony murder trial. Karmelo has been found guilty of murder. Texas law says a murder conviction is punishable by 5 to 99 years in state prison. The defense argued during the sentencing phase of the trial that Karmelo committed the murder while under the influence of sudden passion. If jurors believe he committed the murder under sudden passion, the charge is reduced to a second-degree felony, which lowers the punishment range to 2 to 20 years in prison. Thanks, Paul Ayers. Apparently, the defense asked for sudden passion to be considered.
I think the judge allowed it. It can only be considered after a murder verdict.
It seems like the prosecution allowed that, too. Okay, so that's how it works over there. Yeah, so after the murder verdict, then the defense can come in and say, we'd like you to consider sudden passion, and then, okay, that sort of makes more sense. So it's not like the prosecution came in and said, you know what? Because it is weird how they worded it down here. It said, okay, so it just says state agrees to so they didn't fight what the defense asked for, I guess. But the whole thing, though, just the fact that it's being added in after the fact, like the jury's already, think about how your mind would work, you guys. Like, you're sitting back there in the jury room, and you're just kind of working through it, and all of a sudden they go, hey, you guys need to come back in. And then they sit there, and then they're told, hey, we also want you guys to consider that it could be a sudden passion. And now they're like, God, why did they have us come back in just for that? Are they kind of hinting that that's really what they want us to do here? You know? I don't know. I think it's not, I don't know. If he gets like 20 years, let's say, he gets out in 10, right? I mean, if he's behaved well, and then he gets out in 20 no matter what, and he's 38 years old. Or 37, really. They probably have it time served as you're in house arrest. Although maybe that's part of house arrest means that you can't claim that as part of your time served. I don't know. I think that should be the law, actually. Well, it's also a factor of murder, too. Obi clutch, So, either while you're saying it's a factor of manslaughter, it's also a factor of murder. Okay, so they rejected manslaughter, but they didn't reject murder. So, that doesn't really fly what you typed in up there, this thing right here. I mean, it's not a bad thought, whatever, but sudden passion is a factor of manslaughter. The jury unanimously disregarded. Right, but they all unanimously went with murder, right? And it's also part of that. So now they have an option to be more lenient with having that added on there. Let's see. I think he will get sudden passion. Second, yeah. I mean, I remember saying that I thought like it would maybe be second-degree murder, or if the defense was able to convince the jury that it was actually Austin who provoked it, then it would go to manslaughter. Okay. However, in this case, that wasn't the case at all. It was Karmelo Anthony was the primary, instigator. He's the one that did it. He's the one that was provoking, etc. Being asked to leave isn't provoking. It's your reaction. His reaction to being asked to leave is what provoked, or was provoking. And his words like, touch me and see what finds out. Yeah, punch me and see what happens. And then he stabs him. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, well, that's what it's used sometimes for. YouTube. Yeah, I mean, but not always. Like if people are, let's say you walk, I don't know. It's used for that sometimes, yes. The cheating spouse, etc. But it's also used for other moments in time. Yeah, Karmelo was the initial aggressor. That's what I said 100,000 times on the show. Yeah, well, no, but even just saying hit me, it doesn't count as being the aggressor. Words are, you can say words, but it's when you combine it with emotion or something that can be perceived as threatening. Like, let's say you said, I'm going to kill you, and then you reach into your pocket. Well, boom, then somebody can take you out. He was reaching into a bag. And so that means that Austin would have had the right to kill Karmelo Anthony had he chose to do so. And it would have been self-defense. And then it would have been a bigger, oh my God, see, you let him. Because people don't care about, like, the facts, I'm not sure what you're talking about, OBC. It's a murder. He got a murder already. They're just going to decide if it's a second-degree felony murder instead of first degree. That's it. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill. Let's see. Here, let's do it like this. In Texas, after a murder conviction, what does it mean to then what's Benny doing? Is he coughing or? All right, let's see what ChatGPT says. Let's go.
In Texas, sudden passion is not part of the guilt phase of the trial. It is considered after the defendant has already been convicted of murder. Here's how it works. Step 1. Jury decides guilt. The jury first decides, not guilty, guilty of a lesser offense, such as manslaughter, guilty of murder. If the jury finds the defendant guilty of murder, the case moves to punishment.
Right.
Step 2. Sudden passion hearing. The defense can then argue that the murder was committed under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause.
Pretty accurate.
Under Texas law, sudden passion equal to intense emotion such as anger, rage, resentment, terror, or fear that arises at the time of the killing. Adequate cause equal to something that would commonly produce that level of emotion in an ordinary person sufficient to render them incapable of cool reflection. The defendant has the burden of proof by a preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not. Why it matters. If the jury finds sudden passion, the offense remains murder. The conviction does not change, but the punishment range drops dramatically. Murder. First-degree felony. 5 to 99 years or life. Murder with sudden passion finding. Punished as a second-degree felony. 2 to 20 years. So, sudden passion is essentially a sentencing mitigation issue, not a defense to murder. Example, suppose a jury
See?
concludes, the defendant
That's exactly
intentionally
right.
killed the victim, so he is guilty of murder. But then during punishment, they also conclude, the killing happened immediately after the defendant was confronted with an adequate cause that produced overwhelming...
See, that argues against what you said, Obi Clutch.
I can't believe the state would agree to sudden passion when the jury delivered a verdict so fast.
Why is it so quiet? Let's see. I can't believe the state would agree to sudden passion. Yeah, well, I guess that was something that the defense asked for, and then the prosecution could have argued against it. But I think when, just by the fact that they're allowing it in there, so it changed like a voluntary manslaughter with a murder. Clothing. I don't even know what you're talking about, man. Obi Clutch. I really wish I understood you, man. I don't. I apologize. Yeah, this is, it's still murder. It just means that the sentencing guidelines drop. That's all it is. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. So that's why it's strange that, I mean, it's not, the prosecution isn't who brought it in, though. The defense did, and the prosecution agreed to it. So I'm wondering, it just seems like it's something that, because it was allowed in, is going to affect the psyche of the people on the jury, perhaps, where they might go, are they sending us a signal that they want us to consider, just 2 to 20? Let's give them the max, though, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, I guess if they fought it, that might be like an appealable issue or something like, hey, there were elements in there that a reasonable person might think that it was, heat of passion, a passion moment, What do they call it over there? Sudden passion. Yeah. But I agree there, Tammy. That's pretty weird. A normal person would never bring a knife to a high school track meet and never escalate to that degree. Yeah, I mean, most people don't bring knives to track meets. But when they said nobody else had one in the entire stands, I don't know about that. Who the hell knows what somebody has in their backpack. I mean, they don't have metal detectors there. Yeah, and what it is how it escalated from a shove to a shoulder to being stabbed right in center mass in an attempt to kill somebody. And it looked like he, based on the description, how he had his hand in his backpack, and one of them said, what do you don't have anything in your backpack? And he goes, I'm not from Frisco, meaning I'm not from this rich, affluent neighborhood, so I have something more severe in my backpack. Right? All right, where's that other? All right, what was the name of that guy? Darn it. I want to go, I had the Twitter page open for that one person and I lost it. Anybody happen to know? Who was that guy that we were looking at earlier? Remember? I can't find it. Knife was collected with blood. Let's see if there's anything more that came in. Nope. So they've been out for 26 minutes under the sudden passion situation. Yeah, they agreed to it, it said. Here, let's see. State agrees to addition of sudden passion. Shortly after 3:30, p.m., Carmelo Anthony returned to the courtroom. According to NBC5's Maria Guerrero, who was inside the Collin County Courthouse, Anthony was physically shaking and being held by a female defense attorney. Judge John Roach was informed. Oh, so he must have thought he was coming back in to receive his sentence. Judge John Roach was informed that the state agreed. So that means that the defense went up to the prosecution outside of the judge's presence, likely. I mean, and the prosecution agreed with the defense, sort of outside of the judge, because it says Judge John Roach was informed, right? You see how that's not like, we're in the courtroom, they're discussing it, and then it says he was informed that the state agreed to the addition of sudden passion as the jury continues with the sentencing phase, meaning that the defense can argue that the murder was committed when the defendant was in an intense emotional state. So that's sort of interesting, right? I heard somebody else on TV that said almost exactly what I did. I said 25 to 40 years is what I think he'll end up getting, which that means they can't give him sudden passion. Nor is sudden passion really. I think when you talk about, like, he's sitting there and they ask him to leave, he's creating his passion. You get what I'm saying? Like, he's not leaving. He's provoking. He's sitting there. And then how do we then say, oh, it's sudden passion when he stabbed? I mean, he's the guy that provoked and kept saying, touch me and find out. Punch me and find out. He's creating his passion. His passion has been building up. It wasn't sudden at all. In his mind, he kept building it up while he was sitting there. Oh, old school sound effect. The taco stomp. Why is that so quiet? In the county I live in, you're only allowed to bring in see-through or clear tote bags into high school events. Yeah, well, I guess I'll be starting to do that in Texas. The burden is on the defense to prove sudden passion during the sentencing phase. Right, well, they didn't seem to really do that. Although, you know what, all we see is like the condensed version of it. And so I guess what we don't know, like, what's the transcript? Did he get in there and say, Carmelo was seated with a friend in an attempt to get out of the rain. Carmelo Anthony was sitting with a friend underneath a competitor's tent. And he even was waved over and greeted by the friend. And then other people under the tent didn't recognize Carmelo Anthony and then stood up and, asked him to leave. It's going to be really difficult because he didn't get up and leave. So how do you then claim sudden passion? It's like I don't even know if those go together. The stand your ground and sudden passion. You know what I mean? Like those aren't even. It just doesn't make sense. Stand your ground means that you're not required to leave. So they've got him on murder, but I guess you got to say, well, can you prove that it was sudden passion? And it just doesn't fit. You guys agree with that? I just don't see it at all. It doesn't fit at all. Yeah, if he gets the whole maximum, it won't bother me at all. I don't want, this guy isn't somebody you want hanging out in your communities, I can tell you that. Anybody that's sort of trigger happy, as it were, I mean, Jesus, that guy is a nut job. I mean, just try to picture like when you were a kid, how many times did you see something just like that? You got somebody and they're saying, hey, get out of here, blah, 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 blah. Or, it might even turn into a fist fight. But nobody pulls out a knife and just immediately stabs somebody on a slight little push. It's insane. Yeah. He got suddenly passionate about sitting under tents. There you go. Why do you bring a knife to another school's tent? Yeah, well, I mean, he had it with him, so when he was sitting under his own tent, he had it with him there, too. I wouldn't really argue that point. Yeah. It's just, he had the knife with him. He was sitting, it was raining, and then he was sitting with a friend there. I think it'd be hard to, like, the fact that his friend was under that tent and waved him over, apparently, that sort of takes away that element like, ooh, he went over there just to sit under that tent to kill somebody. I think when he sat over there, and then when they asked him to leave, he just felt like he didn't have to. And he actually didn't have to, really. He didn't have to. It's legal for him to be there. But, any like normal person might say, okay, man, geez, I was just hanging out with a friend. And I'll tell you what, now people get mad at me for saying it, but the friend that he had, under that tent was no friend to anybody. He was no friend to Karmelo Anthony, and he sure as hell wasn't a friend to Austin at all, because had he just said, hey, he's actually visiting me, and then turned to the friend and say, hey, they don't really want you here, so it might have stopped the whole damn thing. But that guy didn't even speak up when they said, hey, who are you? He just sat there quietly. And that's just absolutely bogus. Say something when you know something, He knew him. They hang out together. See, that thing is bogus when people say that they didn't know each other or weren't friends. There's pictures of them. There was 3 pictures they showed of them hanging out together. And, the claim is, oh, he's really just friends with Karmelo Anthony's girlfriend's family. I mean, really? Is that what you do, guy? I mean, tell me, name one. Do you know anybody out there who has gone and visited, like you had a girl that was a friend and then is dating somebody else, but you hang out with the guy because he's the boyfriend of the girl? That's ludicrous, that kind of stuff. So obviously they were friends enough to hang out outside of track. And so I don't really care about that, though. See, that's what I'm trying to say. See, people get so caught up and they want to have this story that fits every little thing that they want to say, instead of just really listening to the evidence and saying it doesn't matter anyways, okay? Because it doesn't. It doesn't matter. Even if the guy had said, hey, come over here, the way it went down was still Karmelo Anthony was the initial aggressor, and he had no right to do what he did legally. And again, I'll say this for the 700th time. Austin Metcalf, based on the evidence presented at trial, would have had the right to kill Karmelo Anthony in self-defense. Like, for example, right then when he saw him reaching into his backpack, and for some reason Austin had a weapon on him, he could have taken out Karmelo Anthony. And it would have been totally justified because Karmelo Anthony was the initial aggressor and made a move that corroborated the words he was saying. You understand that? Yeah. Okay, we're getting really dead again. Nobody's chatting. We need more chatting. Hello, more chatting. Whenever it gets like that, it's just, oh boy. Okay, let's see this one. These are new, I guess. 10 minutes ago, 36. This is new. Courtroom sketch artist Pat Lopez drew 2 sketches Tuesday afternoon. One in the moments before the verdict read, and one of Karmelo's mother on the stand. The first photo shows Karmelo's defense attorney, Mike Howard, with his arm across his client's shoulder just before the jury delivered the guilty verdict. The second drawing is of Karmelo's mother, Kayla Hayes, on the stand after a guilty verdict was read. In the drawing, Karmelo sobbing with his head down. Yeah, well, I'm trying to find that one person on X that was mentioned earlier. But hey guys, if you could please consider helping support the channel. We do a lot of great things. The channel gets supported too, but we also try to donate thousands of dollars every single month out of the income from the channel. So if you can consider gifting some memberships and super chats, that would be great. We've donated $297,000. I think it's $297,600 since January of 2020. And we've put over $115,000 into a DNA fund that has identified, I think, 7 so far, individuals who were unidentified, and using forensic genetic genealogy. And then we also have a scholarship fund that we are in the process of already giving out 24,000. We've given out 18,000 in scholarships, but there's 6,000 where we're just looking at the applications. And then we also have given Texas EquiSearch over $30,000. We've given the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children over 30,000, 33,000. All of them are about 33,000. And then RAIN, which is Violence Against Women, we've given them over $30,000. We've given Wounded Warriors thousands of dollars. We've given Tunnel to Towers thousands of dollars. We've done a lot of great stuff over here, but that only happens when people are supporting the channel. All right, so if you guys have the ability to, that would be great. Thank you, Wild Bill Wassman and Alley Cake. Yeah, jeez. That's brutal. Just want to see what happened. Did they get her, or? Oh, man. God. There's a stupid video of some little kid falling over into the water. I don't even want to see that shit.
Jumping on at Alacakes, surfer emoji, ocean wave emoji.
Thanks, Wild Bill. So where the hell is the... somebody just posted a video of like kids playing around a pool, and one of the kids fell in and they didn't know how to swim, and they just kind of... I mean, I'm not sure why you play the whole video. I mean, it's depressing as hell. Like 4 minutes. I don't know where that one person was. I thought I followed them, but... Anybody have that Twitter handle that we had earlier in the on the earlier show? Let's see. Karmelo Anthony updates. That sucks. I don't see it. Oh well. It is what it is, I guess. Texas lowers first degree murder to... Yeah, we know. Yeah. I just went and played the entire ChatGPT. It's probably about as good an explanation as you're ever going to get on that. It was perfect. I'll do it again. Now, let's play it again. Here, look, listen to this. It's perfect.
In Texas, sudden passion is not part of the guilt phase of the trial. It is considered after the defendant has already been convicted of murder. Here's how it works. Step 1. Jury decides guilt. The jury first decides, not guilty. Guilty of a lesser offense, such as manslaughter. Guilty of murder.
Well, that's what happened. Guilty of murder.
If the jury finds the defendant guilty of murder, the case moves to punishment. Step 2. Sudden passion hearing. The defense can then argue that the murder was committed under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause. Under Texas law, sudden passion equal to intense emotion such as anger, rage, resentment, terror, or fear that arises at the time of the killing. Adequate cause equal to something that would commonly produce that level of emotion in an ordinary person sufficient to render them incapable of cool reflection. The defendant has the burden of proof by a preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not. Why it matters. If the jury finds sudden...
I guess, yeah, but they're saying it has to be more likely than not that it was sudden passion. You know, like, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem sudden. You know, he had his hands on the knife and he provoked waiting for somebody to touch him a little bit more so that he could stab. How is that sudden passion? Oh, DJ Miles, is that it? Okay, thanks. That is it. I remember that. Thank you. You gotta use the look at emojis. Become a channel member. That's how you do it. You are one, so. JD Miles. There he is. Yeah, and I was following him, but I didn't see it. Okay, so let's just keep playing this, though.
Sudden passion. The offense remains murder. The conviction does not change, but the punishment range drops dramatically. Murder. First degree
So it's still a murder, but the punishment range drops from 5 to 99 to 2 to 20.
Murder. First degree felony. 5 to 99 years, or life. Murder with sudden passion finding. Punished as a second degree felony. 2 to 20 years. So sudden passion is essentially a sentencing mitigation issue, not a defense to murder. Example. Suppose a jury concludes, the defendant intentionally killed the victim, so he is guilty of murder. But then, during punishment, they also conclude, the killing happened immediately after the defendant was confronted with an adequate cause that produced overwhelming emotion and prevented cool reflection. The verdict would still be murder, but the sentencing range would become 2 to 20 years instead of 5 to 99 years or life.
I mean, that's such a massive change. I think most of the jury was probably like, yeah, I think like 30. And so when you do 2 to 20, they're going to go with the max for 20. But then you're out in 10. I mean, that is not justice at all in this case.
Important distinction for your audience. Many people confuse. A jury can therefore say, we reject self-defense. We find the defendant guilty of murder. However, we also find sudden passion. That combination is completely permissible under Texas law.
Yeah, so that's sort of like saying it's murder. What they do in Texas, I guess, is really you get convicted of murder. There's just one murder. That's it, murder. But then underneath that, in this case, you can have sudden passion, which then makes it like second-degree murder, which is what people call it in other states. They don't have that, though. They just have murder with sudden passion. And then that makes it a second-degree felony, which means that now the sentencing guidelines are 2 to 20 instead of 5 to 99 years for any other type. Now, let's see what this guy is doing here. So he hasn't really done any like immediate updates recently. Yeah, so scene outside the Collin County Courthouse after guilty verdict in Karmelo Anthony murder trial. Okay, so he doesn't have anything extra here. You're old to me. He's been planning this confrontation long before that. Yeah, it's hard to say. Hard to say. Hey, I got 1,000 joules. I think that's, what is that? $10? Thanks, Cat in the Hat. Hey, you guys see that? I don't see that in the chat, though, for some reason. Weird. All right, let's see if there's any updates on this one. Day 5. Now, it looks like they did do something here. That's the community reaction.
The verdict inside the court. Story tonight, Jayla.
Hey, Meredith, yeah, guilty of murder. Now, while the crowd has sort of calmed down out here, some tense moments earlier today. In fact, there were several people who were shouting back and forth at each other as, of course, police stood nearby. They had the front of the courthouse blocked off, as well as law enforcement.
Hey, thanks for gifting the membership, Wild Bill Wassman.
Point as sort of, you know, everything was escalating out here. There were people on both sides who had a lot to say. One lady who was
1,000?
almost frozen and just
2,000?
numb after hearing what happened, and then another who said
I think
that,
1,000's
she felt
$5.
the jury had made the right decision and listened to the facts of the case and was able to reach
I just figured it out in my head. There you go. Paulers just confirmed
some of what we heard from people talking
That's what I
to
was
them
thinking
earlier
about.
today.
I remember it was 2-1, so it didn't make
It's a tragic
sense.
situation all the way around. I'm glad there's accountability.
What this process did is shown that black lives do not matter in Collin County.
No, they do matter. He's not the one that got killed. You know what's weird is that how do you get both sides of this? Remember the Black Lives Matter was the part about when a black person was killed by a white person, then it was Black Lives Matter. If a black cop killed a black person, then they didn't really care about it. Oh, it doesn't fit our narrative. But if a white person kills a black person, then it is Black Lives Matter. But then how come when a black person kills a white person, it's still Black Lives don't matter? What do you mean? The victim is a white person who was killed in this case. I don't really understand is there ever a chance where it's like, you guys think the other way? I mean, it's pretty bizarre. I don't get it. Do you? Oh, here's a new one. Right here. Right? This is it, right? Let me just make sure. Yeah. During his remarks during sentencing, prosecutor Bill Werski told the jury that sudden passion, a.k.a. heat of passion, that's the phrase I've always heard, means passion directly caused by and rising out of provocation by the individual killed. So that means they have to believe. Well, see, here's the thing. They've already, the jury's already determined that Metcalf wasn't the main provocateur, right? Because they chose Karmelo Anthony as that person, and therefore he did not have the right to self-defense. That the defendant, Karmelo Anthony, who was the one... Okay, let's do that again. So this is pretty interesting. During the remarks during sentencing, prosecutor Bill Werski told the jury that sudden passion, a.k.a. heat of passion, means passion directly caused by and rising out of provocation by the individual killed, a.k.a. Austin Metcalf. During the trial, prosecutors said it was the defendant, Karmelo Anthony, there you go, see, who was the one provoking, and that sudden passion doesn't fit the bill here, and that the defense got it wrong. The defense asked to include sudden passion in the jury's sentencing documents, and the state agreed. The jury will now answer unanimously on the verdict sheet, that while finding Karmelo Anthony guilty of murder, they also unanimously find whether he did or did not cause the death of Austin Metcalf under the immediate influence of sudden passion. And it has to be unanimous. If they're not unanimous, then falls back on just murder with the 5 to 99 years. So this part here is huge right here. Listen. The jury will now answer unanimously on the verdict sheet that while finding Karmelo Anthony guilty of murder, they also unanimously find whether he did or did not. So they'll say he did not or he did cause the death of Austin Metcalf under the immediate influence of sudden passion. But it has to be unanimous. So even if it's 11 people agree that it's sudden passion and one doesn't, then it then moves to murder with... So I think the odds of them having all 12 think it's sudden passion is very low, since they already decided he wasn't the one who was... I mean, he's the provoker. He's the one that provoked, not Austin Metcalf. And that's why he got the murder charge. Had Austin Metcalf been the one who provoked and then putting his hands on him, that would have been like he would have got a self-defense. He would have been found not guilty, and because of self-defense or whatever the hell, however you phrase that. But that's how it would have turned out. But it's not the case. He is the provocateur. He is the one that. So that's what I'm saying here. I don't think that he has the jury would almost be saying that they got it wrong if they do this. If they actually give him, the sudden passion, it'd almost be as if they're. I mean, I don't even know how those can be together, to be honest with you. I don't see how that's even something that's allowed to be added, because they contradict each other. He got murdered because he was the... Let me read this shit again. The jury will now answer unanimously. During his remarks, up here I think it's the part, heat of passion means passion directly caused by and rising out of provocation by the individual killed. So when they went back and found Karmelo Anthony guilty, they knew that Karmelo Anthony was the provocateur, not Austin. So how in the hell can you then bring in sudden passion when it means that the other person has to be the provocateur? It doesn't make any sense. It absolutely contradicts itself. I don't know if anybody was even paying attention, but it does. Yeah. It'd be great if you guys would actually comment on what I'm talking about. I think it's absolutely contradictory to itself. It's like it's something that shouldn't have been added because it's already been proven. I'm not even sure why you can ever... I mean, I guess in this case, it isn't something that should have been added, because you could have a case where a man walks in on his wife sleeping with another guy and shoots the other guy, and yes, that's murder. However, it's sudden passion, and it wouldn't be, oh, who was the provocateur and that kind of stuff. It's a whole different ball game. This is different. This one already has determined that Karmelo Anthony was the provocateur. And he made a motion. It wasn't just his words. It was his words and action by reaching into the backpack that put him into that position. And therefore, it seems like the judge should say, you guys have, in this particular case, that it's already been determined that Karmelo Anthony is the provocateur. Therefore, it's not legally, it shouldn't be even a possibility that somehow you can bring in the sudden passion as a lesser charge, because that only, or lesser sentencing, because that can only be brought in, believed, if Austin was the person who provoked it. I don't know, man. This just got weird quick. That's some crazy shit. I know, yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Because look what he's saying up here. Let's just read this again. That's why I kind of paused and read it again. During the remarks during sentencing, prosecutor Bill Werski told the jury that sudden passion, aka heat of passion, means passion directly caused by and rising out of provocation by the individual killed. That means Austin. During the trial, prosecutors said it was the defendant, Karmelo Anthony, who was the provoking. Yeah, and so hopefully what's going on here, see, this is the part they left out. That's what I told you. If you don't have the transcript, you don't know. So what they're saying right here to the jury is, you guys have already decided that Karmelo Anthony is the person who provoked. Okay, you guys have already decided on that. So this doesn't fit, but we're throwing it out there. I don't know why the hell the prosecutors let it in, because they would absolutely, like if there was like an appeal or some shit like that, they would have been able to say, hey, look, the jury said that Karmelo Anthony provoked this and gave him murder. And then, as you know, you have to have the person who was killed be the provoker to have sudden passion work. So how the hell is that a thing? It's I don't know. So putting it in there gave the jury some sort of a weird out for no reason. Hopefully, though, that they think through it. And it sounds like the prosecutor here sort of let them know, like, hey, this is what the reality is, but you still gave them this little opening. It's weird. Maybe they felt bad for him or something. I don't know. The defense asked to include sudden passion in the jury sentencing documents, and the state agreed. The jury will now answer unanimously on the verdict sheet that while finding Karmelo Anthony guilty of murder, they also unanimously... let me word it the way this would be. Okay, watch this. Let me see this again. The jury will now answer unanimously on the verdict sheet that while finding Karmelo Anthony guilty of murder, they also unanimously find that, and if they find him guilty and they give him sudden passion, they will also find that Austin Metcalf was indeed the provoker and should have actually, this case should have been decided the other direction. However, we got, it's just like, it's too damn confusing. It's stupid. Karmelo Anthony guilty of murder. They also unanimously find whether he did or did not cause the death of Austin Metcalf under the immediate influence of sudden passion. Now, if they use logic and reason, they will not find that, and he will not get sudden passion. If they find the murder occurred under the influence of sudden passion, the jury will assess punishment between 2 and 20 years in prison and include a fine. If they find the murder did not take place under the influence of sudden passion, they will assess punishment between 5 and 99 years in prison and include a fine. I don't know what the hell they're doing here, but he did sort of, like, he tried, this part here is huge up here. Again, during his remarks, so this is the prosecutor, Bill Werski told the jury that sudden passion, aka heat of passion, means passion directly caused by and rising out of provocation by the individual killed. Right? During the trial, and this is like the person talking, not the prosecutor. During the trial, prosecutors said it was the person who wrote it, During the trial, prosecutors said it was the defendant, Karmelo Anthony. So I guess they didn't say this in court. So forget that part. But I guess reading that, it should have implied, listen, we've already proven to you guys that Karmelo Anthony was the person who was provoking in this, this murder, right? He provoked. That's why you guys decided it was murder. So how can we then suddenly say it was the heat of passion when he wasn't provoked by Austin? I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm just hoping to God that so it says, during the trial, prosecutors said it was the defendant, Karmelo Anthony, who was the one provoking, and that sudden passion doesn't fit the bill. So hopefully they remember that, and they just realize that it was put in there. I'll tell you what would have been better if this was put in before they went back to deliberate. Like before they even deliberated at all on the sentencing, this should have been in there. Because the fact that they added it in later gives more, it's almost like you're telling the jury, hey, listen, we want you to think about this too. We need you to nuance this sucker a little bit. And then it's like, oh, wow. And there might be people that go, oh, yeah, I guess they're telling us they want us to do second-degree murder here. It's weird. It's weird. But if they'd gone back and that was already a known thing and it was disproven, the jury would just have already known that and probably gone right to. But then when you add it later, it sort of seems like you're wink, nod to the jury situation. What do you guys think about that? No, we hope so. Yeah. I just don't know why you put it in later. Man, that is some weird stuff. Well, I don't know what's happening now. I mean, you'd think this would be quick. This should have been walk right back there, boom, done. But it isn't. So now we're sort of wondering, did somebody go, yeah. No, they didn't say that. That premeditation was proven. That isn't what they were deciding on. They said that he's the one that provoked and then ended up killing, so he had no right to self-defense, so it was murder. Let's see. I don't think you'll see a lot of rioting in Texas. Probably not. Yeah, it'll be like having rioting in Grady Judd's town in Florida. Yeah, that's not going to work. All they decided on that it was murder in this case, not like I don't know. There was no death penalty in here. Maybe if it was premeditated and planned, you'd probably have the aggravator. Although maybe at 17 you can't have that. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking maybe, 25 to 40 years, which is even way outside of that second degree time frame. Because I could see somebody going, yeah, give him a chance at something later, but it's not something that's deserved at all. Yeah, maybe they can start agreeing on a range. What would you guys be at the minimum happy with? Okay, don't go, I want him 99 years. Just like think about it and just go, yeah, okay, what? Because haven't you seen cases out there that are way worse technically of how it was planned and stuff? And you get them and they're like, 25 to life or something. And it's like, they don't get shit for punishment. I mean, it's about as bad as you can get killing somebody, but it's like the way he did it. But, there is some stuff like, he was over at the tent visiting somebody. He was asked to leave. He's not required to leave. Nobody owns the area there. But why didn't he leave? Why did he sit there? But then when it all came down to it, he's the one that provoked people in, he almost seemed to provoke somebody into touching him, so that he felt like he then could use the knife. That's what it feels like. It's hard to prove that all of a sudden that's premeditated kind of thing. Really what they did was prove that it was murder, that he killed somebody and he lost his right to self-defense, so it's murder. Now we decide what is the punishment going to be. And then now they add in, could it be sudden passion, which makes it a dramatically less option. What's weird is if it's murder without sudden passion, the jury could still say, well, let's give him 15 years. So what's the point of, I don't know why it just seems strange that the prosecution would allow that. Because what they should have argued in court was, or even in the, I mean, when the jury was there and they could make the argument to the jury for sudden passion, that's when they should have came out and said, the jury, as the jury, you guys have already decided that Karmelo Anthony was the provocateur and aggressor in this case. So sudden passion does not work here, since sudden passion means that the person that was killed had to be the provoker. And that's it. I say, what's the minimum? So you say 30 years minimum? What don't you agree with? Yeah, I don't think they have life here. It's just, well, I mean, 99 years is life, right? I mean, it's... Mm-hmm. 50 years minimum, yeah. I could see. Well, they don't. I don't know if they don't. They have bail, not bail. Like parole opportunity. Isn't there some sort of set thing? Let's go do ChatGPT on that one. Let's get that one back open again. What is there a parole minimum time served?
Yes. In Texas, even if a defendant receives the benefit of a sudden passion finding, parole eligibility is still governed by Texas parole laws. For a murder conviction, murder is generally considered a 3G offense, now called a 42A054 offense. The inmate is generally not eligible for parole until actual calendar time served equals 1/2 of the sentence or 30 years, whichever is less. Good conduct time cannot be used to reach that minimum threshold, although it may be considered after eligibility. Examples. So if a jury convicted someone of murder, but found sudden passion and gave them 20 years, they would generally become parole eligible after serving about 10 years.
See?
Important caveat.
Ridiculous.
The conviction remains murder even with sudden passion. The punishment range is reduced from a first-degree felony range, 5 to 99 life, to a second-degree felony range, 2 to 20%. But the offense itself is still murder.
That's ridiculous. And then how about if sudden passion is not found? Yeah, so even if he gets 99 years, he could get out at, I think he would definitely get out after the 45 years or what, 49 years, 50 years, so he'd be 68 years old. They'd let him out.
If sudden passion is not found, then the defendant is simply punished for ordinary murder, which is a first-degree felony in Texas. Punishment range, 5 to 99 years or life imprisonment. Fine up to $10,000. Parole eligibility. For a murder conviction, parole eligibility is generally 1/2 of the sentence or 30 years, whichever is less, without considering good time credits to reach eligibility. Examples. Comparing sudden passion versus no sudden passion. Suppose the jury convicts a defendant of murder. If sudden passion is found, sentencing range 2 to 20 years. Example, 20-year sentence.
Okay, so basically, if it's 5 to 99, if he gets 38 years, then that means after 19 years, he'd be eligible for parole. Okay? If he got 40 years after 20, you know. I mean, either way, he's got a chance to get out as a living person again. I mean, but the problem is you give him 15 years, he's getting out in 7 for killing somebody? Hell no. You know, and even if he didn't, he'd go all the way through the 15. You had 15 to 18, it's 33 years old. He's going to go right out and start killing again. This guy's a psycho. Because if you just picture what he did, it's psycho. Okay? That means it's somebody, it seems like he really wanted, it seems like it, that's what I'm saying. he really just wanted to like kill somebody because he was like, hey, touch me and find out. And he's got his hand on the knife, and then boom, he just immediately, when somebody touched him a little harder than a touch, a little shove, oh, then he just stabs. I mean, what a nut job. Okay, let's go. Yep. All right, you guys, let's see if we can get some more, let's get some gifted channel memberships. We've only got 4 of those. Must be late over there. I mean, it's 6 o'clock for sure. So is this going to go into tomorrow? Let's see if they say... no. Right. Doom, 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 doom. All right. Do you get a... We got some different people in here. Breeze Girl. He's a danger to society, she said. Evil, 99 years. I agree. I agree with the danger to society. Like, I don't want him... I wouldn't feel safe of him out on the street in any sort of like adult man. Like, if he was 60-something, you know, I'd feel, okay, you know, maybe at that point, but... And even if it's 99 years, he's likely would only serve 50, right? I mean, after 50 years, somebody would let him out. And that would make him 68. And there's no, like, you know, good behavior stuff. Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. That's cool. That's a cool quote. Good quote from the DA. Whether you like it or not, mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. That's like an absolute perfect statement. I hope the jury does the right thing with the sentencing process. Don't let him off with a few years in prison. Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. Thanks for your always generosity in the times of bleakness. Yep, it was a good one. I hope the jury does the right thing with the sentencing. I think Jason Bourne sent me a this other attorney that does. He said exactly the same thing that I said regarding allowing the jury, I mean not jury, the witnesses to say, "Oh yeah, he's guilty of murder." He said exactly the same thing, and I'm not even an attorney. It was so shocking that you're able to say that with no objection. That was really what he was talking about, that the defense team did not object when witness after witness came up, and it almost like they want it to be there for appeal. But what he said was, because they didn't object, it doesn't preserve that as something that can be used under an appeal. So that was pretty interesting. Hey, Willie, awesome. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, why not? I mean, I guess we don't know how long you would have lived. I guess we could have taken how long have people in your family generally lived? Well, I had a great uncle that was 87, and an aunt that was 96. So, yeah, let's take an average of that. Okay, that would be... Well, the thing is, there's nothing in the guidelines in Texas that would allow him to be in prison long enough to make up the difference. Because the most time he's going to serve on a case like this would be the 50 years. There's no way in hell after 50 years that they're going to go, well, I need to get the other 49 in there, right? You don't see a difference between this murder and a school shooter? I do. I mean, I think it's extremely different than that. Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I think it's school shooter planned and plotted probably for weeks, got his weapons ready, went over to the school and methodically killed individuals that had nothing to do with anything, completely random shootings. I mean, I don't think you could have something. I don't think it could be any more different, to be honest. This one, the person who told him to leave and stood up was the one he killed. Okay, now he seemed to want to kill somebody that day, maybe. We don't know, but that's what it sort of feels like. He's reaching into the bag. He's got the knife, and he was sort of provoking somebody to touch him a little harder because he got touched, remember, on the shoulder, and he goes, okay, well, punch me and see what happens. And then there was a shove, and then he just said he put his hands on him, and then he stabbed him, killed him. So there you go. All right. Well, I'll give one more shot out there. So if you guys have the ability, want to help support the channel, I'd appreciate it. We could do some channel memberships, super chats, etc. Just trying to get back to a flow over here. Oh, by the way, we had in the Gulf, we had a helicopter, an Apache helicopter shot down, and 2 of our airmen went into, I think, the water in the Strait of Hormuz, and they were in the water for 2 hours. But for the first time in history, we sent out I think it's a 24-foot long, sort of water drone vehicle that went over to them and rescued them. There was no people on it. I mean, that's incredible. But the ceasefire's off now, I can tell you that. Absolutely off. Yeah, I mean, what Whaley Awesome said is sort of what I always say with the judges out there that let killers off, and then the person goes and kills somebody. I always think that the judge should serve half of the sentence that the killer got, or something. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, you got these stupid judges that let people out that are just violent psychos. Then they go out and kill somebody. Shouldn't the judge be held responsible in some way for that? Maybe manslaughter or, negligence, first degree, some horrible... I mean, you let some guy out there that you know is a bad person, and then they kill again. Seems like that's sort of on you. Addresses why the knife was in the backpack. Well, they could have easily addressed that, right? Couldn't they have just said, hey, listen, he's from a part of town that's a little more edgy, and there's more violence over there, and he just had it in there for protection. But see, that's the problem. Once you say that, then it's like, okay, then he intentionally brought a knife to a track meet for use for, quote, protection, and then he's the one that provoked. So the weapon itself was there to strike a human with. So maybe it was just better not to bring that up. Okay, you could say that if he said that, hey, he brought the knife for self-defense. Well, that means you're going to use it to stab somebody, and that's exactly what you did, except you provoked. So now you can't even sort of assume, he just always has a pocket knife on there for whittling branches, etc. I do too. I think judges should be absolutely on the hook when they let somebody out and they kill, or these sexual assault people that they let back out, and then they do it again to multiple people. I mean, where's the judge's responsibility for that? Oh, we just don't vote him in again next time. No, they need to be a little bit worse. I think they need to be set in prison and maybe sit next to those same predators, their cell, for about a year, see what happens. You know, another thing, too, is I always say that judges, I mean, I like judges and everything, you know, but I'm just saying, when they make decisions like that, I always say when they're going to let a sexual predator out, I think it should be incumbent on the judge to have the person live in their house in a room for a month or two, just to make sure that the decision that they're making is a correct one, okay? And you know what the judge will do? He'll start coughing and go, did I say let him out? I meant to say 10 more years. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you'll be amazed if that was the law, how many of these cases these people wouldn't be let out. It would be incredible. All right. Anyways, I'm gonna get going. I don't know what to wait for. We're just sort of twiddling our thumbs. I don't know if they're gonna keep going. I guess we can just talk about what happens tonight if it comes in. You know, I guess if it was a little bit more, if we got more support and stuff like that, we could just keep on going. But it's just, this is the second show. We're already at 3 hours for the day, and we're not even at like 60% again. So it's just struggle, struggle, struggle. So anyways, thanks everybody. We've got Alley Cake, Paul Ayers again, and then we have Wild Bill Wassman, Tammy McDonald, Paul Ayers, Wild Bill Wassman, Alley Cake, Wild Bill Wassman, Tracy Von Brott, Wild Bill Wassman, Glamis Girl, Wild Bill Wassman. Thank you. Yeah, I was planning on doing one later. Oh boy. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you guys later. And as I always say, until next time, let's try this one more time. Anything else pop up in there? No. So I guess there might be a verdict later. I don't know what they're doing right now, and it might be where they don't give a verdict tonight, which is bad news. If they don't have a verdict here in the next, how long have I been on here? How about, shit, what time is it? How about I'll stay on here till for 27 more minutes, and if they haven't come up with a sentencing in 27 minutes, then I think they went for the sudden passion, because this is something that should just be immediately as they go in there. "26 minutes. All right, we got 26 more minutes. Let's see what happens. I'll keep refreshing here. But if you guys could please help support the channel, that'd be great. I mean, I do the shows, you guys support the channel. That allows us to keep doing what we're doing. It also helps dramatically in the amount of money that we're able to give out at the end of the month. Why is that, Scrappy? They didn't kill anybody. I mean, I don't know what they teach their kid at home. I'm trying to figure out, like, who is Carmelo Anthony really, you know? Like, what is he? Is he a... I don't know. It could be a factor, but they shouldn't be in prison. You know, some parents suck, you know. I like to punish the people who do the crimes. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. Now we got 24 more minutes. See what happens. Yeah, it's just this live feed of a helicopter buzzing around the courthouse. Hey, thank you, Delilah Carbajal. Hey, no problem.
Thank you for your coverage.
Well, thank you for being here. I haven't seen you before. Did you like you must have liked the show, right? I mean, it was... yeah, I thought I was leaving too, but then I thought, well, let's see. If they come back with what should be something correct, it would be in the next. It should be soon. If they take a long time, then they're going. Somebody's going for the. Well, it has to be unanimous, though, right? So either way, I mean, are you required to keep deliberating and trying to come up with something, or is it just let's talk about it and vote on it? You know, here's what I would say. I would say that it's almost certain that when they went back there, they did not unanimously pick that it was a sudden passion, and now they're just haggling over the number of years. That's it. They're trying to come up with something. That's why I think it's going to be 25 or 40, because I think a lot of the people on there aren't going to want to sentence a kid that was 17 to 99 years in prison for that type of event. You know, the way it all kind of went down. I think for me, it is different than, let's say there's a case where the same guy, let's say he abducted a girl off the street, sexually assaulted her, strangled her to death, and killed her. Well, that's just 99 years, no matter how you slice it. You know, there's no, or death penalty, really. Apparently, he didn't get the death penalty in this option because it's in his age, right? And I don't even know if it's really a death penalty type case, you know. Hey, look at that. Candalee Woodward Stone. 57 months of hell. Yeah, the kid ruined his life no matter what. Yeah, yep. I mean, don't you see a big difference, though, between what I just said? Like, let's say, hypothetically, Karmelo Anthony abducted a 16-year-old girl, sexually assaulted her, and then strangled her to death, and then threw her into a ravine. Well, that's 99 years without even blinking an eye, right? But in this one, it doesn't have, it's not the same type of depravity, really. It's, it's not horrendously far away from that. I mean, it is quite I don't know, it seems just way different than that. Hopefully you guys can see that. That's right. 57 months of complete abject hell. Yeah, we've already said that, Steve, like 50 times. There's no crime of passion here because the case he was found guilty because he was the aggressor. He was the provocateur. That's how he was found guilty. For it to be heat of passion, it means that the victim has to be the provocateur, which is contrary to their murder conviction. So if you use logic, reason, and common sense, it should immediately be thrown out by the jury, and now they're just haggling in on the how many years. See what I'm saying? Yeah, so if you were here earlier, this is the part here that was really important. It says, during his remarks during sentencing, prosecutor Bill Werski told the jury that sudden passion, aka heat of passion, means passion directly caused by and rising out of provocation by the individual killed. So that means, like, so for example, you find somebody cheating on your wife, you shoot the guy, he provoked you into shooting, right? But in this case, they've already determined that Karmelo Anthony was the person provoking. So it doesn't work. During the trial, the prosecutor said it was the defendant, Karmelo Anthony, who was the one provoking, and that's what the jury found and convicted him of murder. So I don't know why the prosecution allowed it to be put in later. They agreed. That doesn't make sense to me. They should have disagreed on grounds of exactly what we just said. Okay? But it has to be that the jury will now answer unanimously on the verdict sheet that while finding Karmelo Anthony guilty of murder, they also unanimously find whether he did or did not cause the death of Austin Metcalf under the immediate influence of sudden passion. Right? And I can't imagine that every one of them would think that. What do you think up there, Stephen? Stephen the bug killer. Man, you got any ideas on flies? They just buzz around, and I got like these flies that just go, bzz, they're just sitting there, they're not doing anything. They just sort of twirl around in circles. I think it's because of the damn dogs, you know. I go around and pick up their poop every day, but I don't know. It's just like... Thanks, Whaley Awesome. You're Whaley Awesome. All right, we got another 18 more minutes here. We'll see what happens. I got to do my steps. I'm only at 3,000 because I've been sitting here. 3,107. You got to get to 10. Vinegar spray? But doesn't your whole yard smell like vinegar? I did order something that's supposed to be like... have some sort of scents in it that you spray, but I don't know. You know, I'll tell you something. If you want to get rid of that, you know that fly that gets in your house and it's just flying around, you can't seem to catch it? Here's what you do. You turn off all the lights in the room that it's in, and then turn on the lights that lead to the door that goes outside, and they'll just fly right to it and get the hell out of there. You don't have to try to go catch it, run around, and do all that shit. They're gone. They just fly right to the light. Like in Poltergeist. Yeah, I'm going to get the stepping here in 16 minutes. And then right after I stop the show, they're back, and then we'll just have to talk about it later. Yeah, see, the last comment on here is 49 minutes ago. It's already uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, well, let's see.
The legal teams have agreed to add a claim.
You the best opportunity to get him the best outcome.
Surprised by this still?
I am surprised, I am shocked, I am utterly confused. At sentencing, you want to humanize your client. That gives you the best opportunity to get him the best outcome, to get him the least amount of prison time without having...
Has just come down. Again, all of this wrapping up the sentencing part of those closing arguments, Sean, around 4:37 this afternoon. We went to sentencing, and Karmelo Anthony, the defendant, still not called in all of this. A lot of people asking, why didn't he take the stand? Are you surprised by this still?
I am surprised, I am shocked, I am utterly...
Yeah, I said the same thing. To the dismay of people, I said, hey, I think that he needed to go and say something. He needed to explain to the jury what he was feeling, why he was scared, and somebody might have believed him, but he didn't do that.
Confused. At sentencing, you want to humanize your client. That gives you the best opportunity to get him the best outcome, to get him the least amount of prison time, without Karmelo testifying, without him talking to the jury they can't see that remorse. They can't feel that remorse
Right.
in his heart.
I said this exact
in his
stuff.
voice, in his eyes. They can't humanize with him. And without him taking a stand, him being able to connect with that jury, that gives a jury no reason to give him a lesser sentence. And I think strategically the defense didn't want to
His defense team must suck, okay? They didn't object to lay person conclusions on the actual trial. I'm not sure how to phrase it, but like the trial was about first-degree murder. That's what it was, and disproving self-defense. And they were able to say, these witnesses, oh, it was murder. Like, that's just wild. Any defense attorney in the world that has a brain would say, objection, Your Honor. Reaching a conclusion, whatever the hell the thing is after that. And leading, really, because sometimes they go, is it murder or is it self-defense? It was murder. Leading the witness, Your Honor.
for whatever reason, but I think it was a big misstep because he's already been convicted of murder. That's done. He's been convicted. You have nothing else to lose at this point. And you know, if I had been on that team, I would have called any and everyone. I mean, teammates.
Right. I mean, $600,000 they raised on GoFundMe. Where did that money go? That should have been able to buy a great attorney.
Friends, people that have interacted with them, because the jury really needs to, at this point, connect with them. They need to see a human. Right now they've convicted him as a murderer. Well, when they go back for sentencing, you want them to not see him as a murderer, but as a child, as a friend, as a brother, as a community leader. And
you know, a good attorney, a good defense attorney makes stuff to work with. You know, remember Casey Anthony and Baez? That guy, Casey Anthony, you know, I mean, in my opinion, she absolutely did kill her daughter. But then somehow they got an attorney on there that was able to kind of, you know, wheel and deal, make things believable, blah, 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 and make stuff happen, and then boom, she's found not guilty. This is like totally, so that he could have, you know, had people come up and phrase things differently, or even in their closing arguments or their opening arguments, just said things differently. You know, like have people imagine, you know, in your mind, hey, you're this kid, you're going. I don't want to go over it again. I've done it 1,400 times again. They sucked. Okay. They got to make stuff to work with, I think. That's what a good defense attorney does. They create little holes in like something that seems so obvious.
the jury needed to hear more. And I think you mentioned.
However, the reality is the way this played out, and this is the truth that happened here, right? So a good defense attorney is able to manipulate the truth into their favor, and sometimes justice is not served. Yeah, didn't they buy a house and stuff like that?
What do you think the sentence will be? I can't give a number, but the fact that the jury didn't hear from those witnesses, they didn't hear from Karmelo, I think that potentially may lead to a large prison sentence for him.
And coming down with that verdict in just a matter of hours could be.
Yeah. All right, we got 11 more minutes. This is a man. I don't know what that means. Only way the state would be back down mid-trial. What does that even mean? You ain't getting murder except hung because this is a man. This is man. I don't even know what that means. I'm sorry. Yeah, like up above where you said. Yeah, he murdered, but it was sudden passion. Well, no, I think they wanted it to be self-defense, but they were struggling to place Austin into that position of being the aggressor. It's not aggressive to say, hey, could you leave our tent? You're not part of our tent. That's not aggressive. That's just sort of like a natural, like, hey, this is our team's tent. Hey, thanks, K-Me. Yeah, of course it's going to be, oh, it's rigged, it's rigged. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm not saying I think a really great attorney might have been able to somehow finagle this into manslaughter. That's about the best you could possibly hope for, you know. And you know how it works, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, the facts are the facts, and it's obvious. But there's attorneys out there, like OJ's attorneys. I mean, really? OJ Simpson killed Nicole Brown Simpson, right? I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. But somehow they're able to, look, a racist cop here, and a this and a that there, and a this and that, and ding, 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 and all of a sudden, no, not guilty. And it's stupid, you know? It's ridiculous. Gray, I don't believe OJ did. Did you see the documentary, you bastard? No, I didn't see the documentary. Thank you. Yeah. I'm never watching again. Hey, where is that? I guess I gotta play that while we're waiting around here. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, well, hold on, where is it? I think it's this one right here. Is it this one? Let me see.
Risks of trial. So somebody sent me the note.
Not that one. Is it this one?
Need to quiet the conspiracy theories. The pro burger is crazy. When I was on Court TV, do you guys see that?
Oh, yeah, here we go. This is when I was in, look at that. Look at my beard and everything. It's ridiculous. All right, here, let's see.
I was on Court TV. Do you guys see that? I'm sure they'll get the obligatory, I can't believe...
Wait, hold on. Let me turn it up. There we go. Here, listen to this.
Court TV, do you guys see that? TV, do you guys see that? When I was on Court TV, do you guys see that? I'm sure they'll get the obligatory, I can't believe you had Gray on your show, Vinny.
Oh, that was the other one. Oh, man, it cut off. Here it is right here. Hold on a second.
State supports. I even brought up the pro burgers on when I was on Court TV. Do you guys see that? I'm sure they'll get the obligatory, I can't believe you had Gray on your show, Vinny. I'm never watching again.
Come on.
Hey, thanks, Roger Sellers.
Come on, that's pretty good.
I'm Joe, Vinny. I'm never watching again.
Yeah, bam, boom, chakalaka. That's what those guys do, man. I tell you what. It's crazy. Looney Tunes. I love that thing. It makes me laugh every time. I don't even know why. It just keeps... anyways. Well, shit. What do we got? We got 6 more minutes here. See what happens. All right. I'm never watching again. Yeah, I can imitate it pretty good, right? Well, I should be able to. Dramatic music. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know if that works. What's the one I did have? Yeah! Come to PIR, Portland International Raceway, where the biggest thing since the Pinewood Drag. We have Rod Laver, a retired astronaut, with his hydroelectric car. Yes, it's guaranteed to rip up the road right in front of your face. We also have Jim Hansen with his Beaver Mobile, the only car that'll knock down trees at 200 miles an hour. Trials from 6 and 7 be there. Well, there you go. Okay, we're just trying to kill time, waiting for the sentencing to take place. Yes, everybody, we're all waiting for the jury to come out and give us their verdict. Well, well, thank you, Songbird. Yeah. And Linda Howell, as in Linda Molden Howe, of the Cattle Mutilations and Corrupt Circles. Yeah, we have different sound effects you can play, like... Yes, the defense team today put out the most ludicrous case you've ever seen. In fact, they should have had Karmelo Anthony come on the stand, but no. What they claimed was that they're victim in the case. Thank you very much for watching. There's the dramatic music. Here, let's see if that works with this. Hold on. You wanted the dramatic music?
State supports. Joe, Vinny. Tori, I can't believe you had Gray on your show, Vinny. I'm never watching again.
Come on, that's ridiculous. Oh, shit. Hi. Yes, you too can be a fan of Karmelo Anthony. Send money to his GoFundMe account and his parents will buy a nice, beautiful house and a car. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right, we're got 2 minutes left on this one. Let's see what do we got here. Ah, shit. Oh, man. One of my Halloween sounds. All right. Well, there's been no really any updates in here. Anybody? How about over here on Twitter? By this guy. Has he got anything? 47 minutes ago, the jury has been deliberating Karmelo Anthony's sentence for more than an hour. He faces 5 to 99 years in prison, but defense attorneys are asking the jury to consider sudden passion. It's a factor that can lower the sentence range from 2 to 20 years if they decide. I think if the jurors go with sudden passion, the prosecutors are at fault. The fact that they would accept that without a debate, it's ridiculous. Hey, thanks so much there, Bakalula. Wow, look at that, you guys. 10 gifted memberships by Bakalula. How's it going, Bakalula? Haven't seen you in a while. Appreciate it. Thank you. Now I feel obligated to do 5 extra minutes. I'll sit here for 5 more, well, let's see. Yeah, I just got to get out and do my steps, though. I wish it was like a trial. I could have it playing, but... Thank you, Bakalula. Yeah, it's been at least an hour. Be great if they had updates or something. 5:29, yep. Are you sure you're available for one, Jason? We had this before. Remember those people? They say that they're signed log, like click on one of the people that just got a free membership, and then there's an option on there that says make yourself available. So try to do that. Or just get one, We got the $1.99 a month option. It's pretty cheap. Been preparing for summer work stuff. The usual exploring AI lately. Yeah, AI is pretty interesting. Yeah. Well, let's see. So thanks for the second half of this one. Wild Bill Wassman, Delilah Carbajal, Whaley Awesome, Kami, and Bakalula. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. $1 million? I don't know. I heard 600,000. I don't know. A lot of money. What's weird is that people believed like they were, that's where the parents should be in jail. It's like that they perpetrated a fraud on the people out there to send in the GoFundMe on a case that was so obvious. They're trying to sell a story. Oh, he was being choked in a chokehold, I guess. I mean, apparently that's what I heard that the family was saying was happening. That it was just this totally different story than the reality. And they knew what the reality was because they're in on it. I mean, they're part of their son's, in there. Dun, 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 dun. And to buy a house with it? I mean, their kid needed it, I mean, what a joke. If that's the truth, that his parents bought a home and cars and stuff, and that is absolutely horrendous because that means they could have afforded to buy their son a better attorney, and they just were all they cared about was themselves. What they're really crying about is, we needed this to go on for another year so that we could get more GoFundMe. But he's already found guilty. Ah, crap. That's crazy. Yeah, wow. I hadn't really thought about that. That is disgusting. I'm never watching again. Right, Tracy? Oh, that is sick. I guess later we can just kind of go over the sentencing, and then maybe we can do that other case, right? The one that I wanted to do yesterday. I wanted to do it during the day today, but it just didn't work out. Or maybe I'll save that one for tomorrow during the day, and we can do like a call-in show or something regarding this. It's hard to mix, unless there's like two huge cases that people are watching. It's hard to mix cases together. Yeah. A week? What was? Oh, the week counsel. Yeah. So he said the jury was having dinner now. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, great. All right. Well, anyways, I think that's a good time to end this. I'll come back on later. Hopefully we have some answers, and we'll just, probably maybe like 6:30 or 7 or something. My time, Pacific Standard Time. I'll do the show later. In the week, they blew all the money in a week. Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, anyways, thanks for, I already thanked, let's see, we got Bakalula, and I thanked everybody else a little bit ago, and then I stayed on for another half hour. K-Me, and Whaley Awesome, Candalee Woodward Stone, was 57 months of hell, I said. All right. Anyways, thanks, everybody. We will see you guys this evening. Thanks for being here, and as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. And welcome all the new people out there. Hope that you enjoy the channel. We try to use, we don't just try, we use logic, reason, common sense. We work through cases. We don't do the BS conspiracy theory bullshit crap like that over here. Unless it's a real thing, like literally like the facts of the case point to something like that. Most of the people on YouTube, they pretend there's a conspiracy to get views, likes, and subs. We don't do that. All right, so thank you very much. We'll see you guys later. And until next time, be safe out there.
Hey, thanks, Gray.
Hey, no problem, Mary Lou.
Evil can never be dead enough.